Hey crafty people, welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting! Okay, welcome back. In case you're new to my channel or have not been watching this month, I am participating in Ceri the Crafter's hashtag Mixed Media March 25 challenge. And what you need to do is post a project every day in the month of March. Although I did see a recent video he did where it's like, if you've missed starting, on March 1, start on whatever day today is and just do 31 projects in a row. And the finished project has to be rectangular in shape, incorporate gel printing, the number corresponding to the day in the challenge that you're doing it, and you need to sign your work. And I was watching Margreth over at Sevenplaza, who's doing Mass Make March, and she was mass making like a tuxedo fold pocket that I thought would be really cool to make. And so I want to create a gel print paper that we can then make the tuxedo fold pocket out of. And when I was doing my prep work for Mixed Media March 25, I completely forgot I had some more PM Artist Studio stencils. And so I want to play with this one, which I completely forgot I had. And so we are going to put down some pink. We are going to do a mix of Appel Matte Pink Polish and FolkArt Matte Ballet Pink. And put that down on our paper. Oh, and with the tuxedo fold pocket, I need my print to be double-sided. So we're going to see how that goes. Hopefully I won't make a complete and utter mess. And where did I put my brayer? Here we go. And I realized as I'm doing this, if I wanted the flowers pink, I'm doing it the wrong way. So we're just going to go ahead and pull this and play around with it and then try again because, yeah, when I put down, this is wet strength tissue that I'm using to pick up that pink. So yeah, the pink on all the flowers. And you know what? Let's make sure we get all that detail. So yeah, I got all the pink flowers on this piece, not left on my plate. And I'm trying to think what I want to pull this with. We're gonna go wild and crazy. Craft Smart Turquoise. We're just gonna see what we get. Yeah, that's gonna end up getting mostly covered up, I suspect, with other stuff that I do. Let's try this again. We're gonna put this down. I'm gonna put my paint on the palette off to the side I've got going on. And I'm gonna also add in some pink eraser because I don't think my pink's dark enough. So let's put a glob of that on, glob of the other two on. I've just got a 5x7 off to the side. Because I kind of would like it to be like not a solid blend of the colors. Not sure. It must be the Apple Barrel pink eraser. It smells like wall paint to me. All right, I am going to grab a piece of paper. Let's go ahead and just use this guy over here that I can flip the stencil onto to wipe some of the paint off. I'm gonna leave that a minute so it dries, so that when I put the pull paint on, it's not gonna make a mess. What I'm gonna do is the spots that are a little too damp yet, I'm gonna come in and see if I can pull some of that paint off. I think I'm gonna pull this with some Apple Barrel Lime Sherbet. Still see there's a few spots that I'm like, eh. And this, I was just using it to clean up my palette piece over there, the 5x7. All right, let me make sure I've got my paper that I want to do. Now my mat's 8x10, but I'm using an 8.5x11 piece of paper, so I'm just gonna end up trimming it down later. All right, so far I haven't made a mess on this side. So let's see what we get when we pull it up. And I'm gonna be careful not to touch it down on there. Pretty good. I'm kind of happy with that. I'm gonna let this dry completely before I do anything on the other side and have a bit of a cleanup, and I'll be back. Okay, so this is the one I pulled on screen, and then I was playing around a little bit more, and I ended up pulling this one, and I like this one better. And behind the cherry blossoms, I used this stencil from PM Artist Studios. So this is the one I think I'm going to use for this project. So we need to print on the back. And I'm kind of bummed I used a lighter weight paper, so hopefully it's going to hold up all right. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down my greens. A little more green than I wanted. So I did Lime Sherbet and Craft Smart Apple Tart. And I'm going to just add a little of the FolkArt Enamels in Evergreen to get a little, woo, that's way more than I wanted. Let's put a little bit of that back because I just want a little bit of that. Let's roll that out. Then I'm going to take a piece of packaging paper that I crumpled up. And I'm going to lay that down. Then I'm going to put down some vintage white. And a dot of golden brown, so that it's a little bit darker than the white, vintage white. And we're gonna roll that out. Decide, and yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and pull it. I'm trying to line it up as best I can. Hopefully we'll like how this came out. Okay, it's very plain, but I think what we're gonna do to add more interest to this side is do a little brown off to the side and add, let's see, grab, got a thing of bubble wrap. I'm gonna stamp that on. Ooh, I kind of like that. Then I think I want to pull a little of the pink in from the other side. So I'm going to put some pink on my plate. And I think, let's add, and I'm going to use my so we're going to do some circles on here. Got that size. I think I've been using this cap. Yep. I think I may need to add more paint over here. Bigger circle. Feel like it needs a little bit of black, but I'm not sure what I want to use for that. Give me a sec. I need to clean up. You know what? I think we're going to just leave it, and then any black we'll do stamping with stamps. Yes, I think that's what we're going to do. Hopefully I didn't mess up the print on the other side. No, it looks okay. So we've got, and then that way I can wait and see which way up we do it. All right, I'm gonna leave this to dry and then come back and we'll make our tuxedo pocket. Okay, so our piece is all dry. I've trimmed off all the white, and if you hear a weird noise in the background, that's my printer that I've got going. And so now it's time to create the tuxedo pocket. Now first, you need to decide which side you want as your more dominant print, that one or this one. And I think I want this to be my more dominant print. And we need to do 3 folds. The first 2, we're gonna fold it in thirds essentially to create the pocket, but I want this piece to be a little shorter than this piece. So we're just gonna kind of hold it up and eyeball where we need our fold to be in order to have that one be a little bit shorter. This would work better with stiffer paper, I think. And I'm not getting this quite right. All right, so let's shorten that. That needs to be a little shorter. Because this whole thing is 10, not quite 10. Is it actually square? Did I, in cutting it, actually make it square? No, it's not actually square. So let's first make sure our piece is actually square. All right, let me get out my paper trimmer. And I'm gonna use my Tim Holtz rotary trimmer because it has the arm that extends out. So I know this needs to be hair shy of 10. All right, let's just take it down to 9 3/4. And then height-wise, let's do take this down to 8.5, and then I think we'll be square, hopefully. I'm just using my mat to check and make sure all of our lines are straight. I think we're good. And since I now know it's 9 3/4 this way, if we score this section at 3 inches, and I'm not going to press too hard in scoring. I know it'll be shorter when I fold this bit over the rest of the way. So I'm just going to do that score. And then I want to take the bottom pocket up 2 inches. So we're just gonna score there as well. And this will make sense here in a sec. At least I hope it will. So I'm gonna fold my piece over the 3 inches. Then when I fold this piece all the way over, and that is not quite straight. None of this is quite straight. You can see this piece is shorter than this piece. Don't think it's gonna matter that we're not entirely straight. And then we're gonna fold our 2-inch piece up, so that our finished piece is going to be, what is that? 5.5 inches. Okay. Now we got to make a couple cuts, and I know it's kind of hard to see. So let me just grab a pencil, and what are we doing? On the shorter piece, we're going to cut this line away, and on the longer piece, we're going to cut this line away. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to grab my scissors, and we are going to trim up on this fold to this fold. I'm just trimming up to our fold line. So now you can see we've got that trimmed away up to our fold line. And on this side, we're going to trim in along our fold line to the next fold line. So we've got a piece that folds across, or what we're actually going to do is it's going to fold like so. Now, to create the look of a tuxedo, we're going to take our points in to our fold line here. Let me just kind of put a pencil mark to make it a little easier to see. So we're gonna fold into our score, not past it, because then when we go to fold our piece over, we're gonna run into problems up to the score line. So we're gonna fold that one down. We're gonna take our corner and come into our fold line again. Just making sure I'm not going over the score line. And then we're gonna glue these pieces down. So that folds in, and that folds in. This pocket then folds up to create a pocket over here. And I'm gonna bring in an eraser and erase my little pencil marks that I made over here. And then this pocket folds back. And again, I'm just straightening up anywhere that's a little bit off because my paper's a little wonky. My cutting's probably a little wonky. Everything's just a little bit wonky. And then we're gonna fold that back. And don't worry, I'm gonna trim off all the excess bits we're seeing over here because that is not very straight. So first I'm gonna trim along here to clean that up a little bit. Then I'm gonna trim down here to clean this bit off. There and there, and that's gonna be a pocket, that'll be a pocket, that's a pocket, that's a pocket, and that's a pocket. So let's start gluing. No, what I want to do first is I want to add a notch in this one. So I'm going to take, let's first find the center. So it's not horribly off. It's 3.5. Center's about there. And I'm gonna grab another piece of paper because this is kind of thin. I don't think my die is gonna love it. So if I add an extra piece of paper in, it should cut better than if I try and cut it without doing that. So yeah, I like that. And I think we're gonna put one on this pocket, which is 2 inches-ish, because I'm so very straight with this. And so we're again just gonna add another piece of paper to help cut that notch out. So there, and now I'm gonna grab, this needs inking. So I'm gonna grab a dauber, shabby shutters, and I'm gonna ink along this pocket over here and along this. That did not punch straight over here, so we're just trim that off. A little ink over here so that it just stands out a little bit more. And do it again over here, and then we'll ink around edges of the whole thing after we glue it together. And then I'm going to ink down these guys too. All right, for the back pocket, so that it's the biggest space possible, I'm just going to glue along this bottom edge. And then for this pocket, I'm gonna glue down the side and the bottom edge. This pocket, we will glue up the two sides. And again, we'll do up the two sides. And then along the two sides of this pocket. So we've got one pocket, two pockets, three pockets, four pockets, and then this little guy over here. Now, we obviously are going to do a little bit of decorating to this. Let me go grab something real quick. Okay, so I went to my printer and I printed out, ooh, this is from my Porch Prints Garden Critters add-on kit, and this is printing it full paged, and then I printed it two to a page because I figured these guys were going to be too big if I wanted to use one of them, and I do. So this is full size, and I grabbed, so I had pre-done a whole bunch of these, and it's, I think, stamped in red on what turned out to be pink instead of a more red dyed paper, but it was too bright, so I went ahead and stamped on the corner using Victorian velvet, and this is from the Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous Curator set, CMS 493. And this is Tim Holtz Sizzix die. It's vintage labels, and it's the one where you ink the die and then cut it out and you get the lines on there. Although I think I want this to stand out a bit more, so I think I'm going to ink the edges and use the shabby shutters with it. No, bundled sage. Although I think there's some other ink on this, like the green that was on this, I think is taking over. Because that's a little more olivey than shabby shutters usually is. But that's fine. So I'm going to put my date on, and I've pulled out, if you watched the first videos this month, I was using a date stamp. And this time I think I'm going to stamp just the full date, and I'm going to use, this is Versamagic chalk ink, and it's the same color I used when creating the die cut. So we're gonna ink this up. I'm gonna do a test stamp. Let's see how it comes out. Very, very faintly. I think I may go shabby shutters. Let's test that out and see what that gets us. I think I like that better. All right, we're gonna go shabby shutters. I think my dog's getting ready to start barking. All right, let's pull our piece over. We're not using that. Let me put that away. We are gonna use Mr. Frog, and we are gonna ink his edges. Let me grab a different dauber and see if it works better. No, maybe that is the correct color for shabby shutters, and I just think it's lighter than it is. All right, he's gonna go there. Our date's gonna go like so. Let's put a little glue on the edge here so we make sure we get him on, and then we can place it appropriately. Like so. Actually, I think I may move that up and put this down here, and let's shift. Because of where the stamping ended up coming out on there, I think I'll like it better if we move it up and put this down here to address some of that white space. And yeah, I think I like that better. So let's go ahead and glue this down. All right. since we shifted him, it needs more glue. We're gonna glue him at a jaunty angle. We're gonna glue this whole thing on there. We got that side, and then I figured for the back, I've got another one of those labels that was pre-stamped, a stamp, and then this is a word I stamped using Tim Holtz stamps, and I need to straighten that up because that was not trimmed out straight. And I'm gonna ink the edges of this using Victorian Velvet because that's what color I stamped with. So it'll stand out better. And in fact, I think I'm gonna just use the Victorian Velvet Oxide for inking the edges of everything on the back. And again, I'm gonna glue the stamp to the die cut piece. Okay, that's still not straight. The problem is I don't necessarily pay enough attention to make sure that the stamp is on the stamping block straight. So I think it ends up getting stamped a little wonky, and then that just throws it all off when I go to use it. All right, I think I'm gonna tuck it under and glue it on top of there. So let's put a little glue here. And just have that tip tucked under. Like that. And then we'll glue the whole thing down. And what I would do is paper clip it on to a page in a journal so that you can take it out or put it in another pocket in a journal. But there we go. We've got number 24 finished. So that's all for, oh, I forgot to put my initials on it. Let me sign it before I forget. All right, now we're finished. So that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting.